Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're launching a truly thrilling investigation into a high-altitude marvel tucked way deep in the Peruvian Andes. We're going to examine the secrets of the Lost City, a place that absolutely continues to capture our collective imagination, and, frankly, challenges everything we thought we knew about ancient history through verified archaeological evidence.
Now, right out of the gate, we're confronted with two massive questions. Why exactly was this majestic city built? And why was it just left behind? I mean, picture this. Hidden way up high in the cloud forest, Machu Picchu is an absolute architectural triumph that its creators just walked away from. It's a massive historical paradox, and we're going to unpack it today.
Part 1. The City in the Clouds, examining its extreme location. Moving to Part 2. The Inca Empire, focusing on the architects themselves. You see, to understand the city, we really have to understand the Incas. They were incredibly multifaceted. We're not just talking about conquerors experiencing rapid imperial expansion across South America. They had a highly complex societal structure. They were a deeply, deeply religious society whose faith dictated literally every aspect of their daily lives. And most importantly for us right now, they were some of the most advanced engineers of the ancient world. Their capabilities were just staggering. Which brings us to Part 3, engineering a mountain marvel, looking at the logistics and design. The sheer infrastructure required here is absolutely mind-boggling. Think about it. The Incas had to figure out how to move these massive, heavy stone blocks up precipitous slopes, and they did it completely without modern machinery. They had to carve sprawling agricultural terraces directly into the sides of the mountains just to create farmable land. Plus, they engineered highly advanced water channels to sustain a whole population living up in the clouds. They weren't just building a city, they were literally terraforming a mountain. So what's the secret to their structural survival? Well, it lies in ashlar masonry. This is a brilliant construction technique that we verified through extensive archaeological evidence. Instead of using mortar to glue all these stones together, the Incas used finely cut, squared stones. They fit them together so tightly that you couldn't even slip a piece of paper between them. It is wild to see in person. And this perfectly illustrates the sheer genius of Inca engineering. If you look at typical European builders of that same era, they relied heavily on mortar, which actually made their structures rigid and super vulnerable to seismic activity. But the Inca engineers, because they used that mortarless ashlar masonry, when an earthquake struck the Andes, the stones in their walls were actually able to move. They would literally dance during the tremor and then resettled perfectly back into place once the shaking stopped. It's just a brilliantly ingenious earthquake-resistant design. Let's jump to Part 4. Emperor Pachacuti's vision. Finding our mastermind. Now, a crucial point here is separating verified historical fact from popular theory. Based on the evidence we have, historians largely agree that Machu Picchu was built under the reign of Emperor Pachacuti. But rather than being your standard run-of-the-mill administrative city, experts estimate it functioned primarily as a royal estate for the elite, or maybe a sacred religious retreat. Basically, a sanctuary intimately connected to their deep-rooted religious beliefs. That takes us to Part 5, Life at Machu Picchu, looking at their daily rhythms. By looking closely at the archaeological footprint, we can actually neatly categorize their daily life into highly organized specific sectors. First, you have the temples, which were dedicated entirely to sacred religious ceremonies. Then, right alongside that, you have the terraces. These were basically the engine rooms for intensive agriculture to make sure the inhabitants were fed. And finally, the palaces, which served as the royal residences for the Inca elite. It was this perfectly balanced, completely self-sustaining ecosystem hovering right there in the sky. Finally, Part 6, The Unconquered Mystery, uncovering a massive historical anomaly. This timeline reveals a really glaring historical anomaly. So in the mid-1400s, construction is ordered by Pachacuti, and the city thrives, right? Then in 1532, the Spanish conquistadors arrive in Peru, bringing the Inca Empire to a devastating end. But then we just hit a blank spot. From the 1500s all the way through the 1800s, Machu Picchu is never once documented by Spanish chroniclers. Think about that. Despite their notoriously thorough records of conquest, the Spanish somehow completely missed this massive mountain city. It leaves us with a staggering gap in the historical record. I mean, here was a major city left perfectly intact, completely undocumented by the European conquerors, and yet entirely abandoned by its indigenous creators. The Incas just packed up and left.
This single fact is what elevates Machu Picchu from being just a fascinating archaeological site to being one of the most enduring historical enigmas of the ancient world.
Which brings us to the ultimate question, the one that still haunts historians and archaeologists to this day. If the Spanish conquerors never found it, and the jungle slowly reclaimed it, if Machu Picchu wasn't truly lost to the local indigenous populations, then who protected its location? Who exactly kept the secrets of this lost city alive for all those centuries in the shadows of the cloud forest? It's a lot to think about.
All right, picture this. You've got an ancient city of stone, literally clinging to the impossibly steep ridges of the Andes Mountains, completely shrouded in these swirling cloud forests and bathed in golden sunlight. It is an absolute masterpiece of ancient engineering. But beneath the breathtaking cinematic majesty of Machu Picchu lies one of the most enduring archaeological mysteries of our time. So today, in this explainer, we're going to strip away the myths, look at the hard data, and figure out what this ancient site truly was.
So, what was this place actually built for? Let's dive right into this investigative case file. For decades now, tourist brochures have sold us these romanticized, honestly pretty conflicting stories. Was it an impenetrable fortress, a sacred nunnery, maybe the last refuge of the Incas? Well, to find the truth, we need to throw out the hearsay and look directly at the evidence. What does the site itself, the stones, the layout, the artifacts, actually tell us?
Section 1. Decoding the stones. Let's look at the major suspects. We're going to begin our investigation by cross-examining the most prominent archaeological theories about the city's original purpose. And what's really fascinating here is how the strong evidence for a royal estate perfectly overlaps with the likelihood of a religious sanctuary. See, the royal estate theory suggests this was a country retreat for Emperor Pachacuti, which is backed up by some extremely high-status architecture. The catch? There's zero evidence of continuous year-round habitation. Meanwhile, the site features these incredible spiritual alignments that perfectly track the sun, sitting right alongside everyday utility housing. So modern archaeologists look at this data and conclude it's actually highly likely it was a combination of both.
This multifaceted purpose becomes even clearer when we look at the astronomical and administrative theories. The astronomical observatory theory, that is undeniably supported by solstice alignments in structures like the Temple of the Sun. But just given the sheer, massive scale of the rest of the city, astronomy definitely wasn't its sole purpose. And as for it being an administrative center, well, we have found bureaucratic artifacts, sure, but its incredibly remote location makes it a highly inefficient capital city. So broadly speaking, experts view these as secondary functions rather than the main event.
Rounding out our suspect list, we need to evaluate the evidence for a pilgrimage site, an agricultural research center, and a sacred ceremonial complex. Let's take the agricultural research center theory. Yes, the Incas were master terracers, absolutely, but agricultural research simply lacks definitive proof as a primary function. Honestly, it was likely just feeding the elite residents. The sacred ceremonial complex theory, however, holds immense weight, seamlessly integrating with the idea of a royal retreat. But before we can lock in our final verdict on its purpose, we have to address a totally different mystery.
Before we can truly understand Machu Picchu, we really have to correct a massive historical misconception about how we even know this place exists today. Because for over a century, the history books have fed us a very specific and very flawed narrative.
Section 2. The true rediscovery. It's time to correct the record.
So for centuries prior to 1911, indigenous habitation and local knowledge of the site just never ceased. It was never actually lost to the people living in the surrounding valleys. When the Yale explorer Hiram Bingham arrived in 1911, he didn't magically stumble upon a hidden ruin. He was literally led there by a local farmer named Melchor Artiega, who already knew exactly where it was. Today, modern archaeology firmly credits these local guides. Bingham absolutely brought it to global attention, but the locals never lost it in the first place.
So, with the historical record corrected, we've got to ask, how are we actually studying this site today? How do you even begin to see through dense, centuries-old, completely overgrown cloud forest to find new structures and terraces? We've got to bring in the modern forensics team.
Section 3. Modern Scientific Forensics. Welcome to high-tech archaeology.
The absolute game changer here is LiDAR, light detection and ranging. By using laser pulses from drones, archaeologists can literally strip away the jungle canopy to create a 3D model. It's basically like having X-ray vision for the Earth. This incredible drone mapping technology is revealing hidden terraces, water channels, and outlying structures that traditional ground excavations completely missed for over a century.
But here's the thing, this modern research isn't just about discovery, it's about survival.
Modern fieldwork operates alongside some intense UNESCO preservation efforts, combating urgent climate challenges like heavy rainfall and erosion. And of course, there's the need for strict tourism management to prevent loving this ancient wonder to death. Protecting the site right now is just as critical as excavating it.
All right, now we have to pause and address the elephant in the room. Because if you spend any time on the internet, you have definitely heard some wild claims about this place. So what about the aliens? What about the hidden Inca gold? We need to dismiss the red herrings that just distract from the real science.
Section 4. Fact versus fiction. Time to dismiss those red herrings.
Popular myths absolutely love to spin these tales of hidden rooms bursting with treasure, or propose the whole city was built by a lost, hyper-advanced civilization that predates the Inca. But the hard archaeological consensus, they completely reject this. These are highly speculative concepts entirely unsupported by any mainstream excavations. Let me be clear, there is no secret cache of gold waiting to be found here. The true treasure of Machu Picchu is the sheer amount of information it provides about Inca society. And furthermore, those sensational rumors of alien builders or supernatural powers being used to levitate massive stones, they completely ignore historical reality. Actually, attributing this mind-blowing stonework to aliens robs the Inca civilization of the credit they so richly deserve. This city is a testament to extraordinary, real-world human engineering, brilliant urban planning, and the mobilization of massive human labor forces. So, clearing away all those speculative myths, correcting the timeline of its discovery, and weighing all the incredible modern forensic evidence from LiDAR and excavations, the moment of truth has finally arrived. We are ready for the final verdict.
Section 5. The final verdict. Let's unlock the mystery. So what do mainstream peer-reviewed experts broadly agree on today regarding the true purpose of Machu Picchu? Well, here is the overarching consensus. Machu Picchu was essentially a multifunctional marvel. It served primarily as a royal estate for the Emperor Pachacuti, built to celebrate his conquests and house his royal lineage during the dry season. But importantly, this estate was seamlessly integrated with a highly sacred ceremonial complex. It was a place of immense power, both political and spiritual, positioned perfectly among sacred peaks and solar alignments.
However, as any good scientist will gladly tell you, we definitely don't know everything. We have to humbly admit what remains uncertain: the exact day-to-day operational details, the full and precise extent of its astronomical uses, and exactly why it was ultimately abandoned just before the Spanish conquest. Those remain genuine, enduring archaeological mysteries.
And you know, perhaps that enduring mystery is just part of its magic. As the quote goes, Machu Picchu continues to fascinate the world because it represents the ultimate synthesis of brilliant human engineering and breathtaking natural majesty. It is a stunning testament to what humanity can achieve when working in harmony with one of the most challenging and beautiful environments on Earth.
We've unpacked the evidence, we've dismissed the myths, and we've revealed the incredible reality of this royal estate. But considering that modern LiDAR technology is really just beginning to map the surrounding valleys, it leaves us with one final, thrilling thought. If a laser scan from a drone could help us properly understand this massive city, what other ancient secrets are still hiding beneath the dense Andean cloud forests, just waiting for the next scan?